The military seminar in Warsaw was supposed to be routine, another international training event, another opportunity for instructors to showcase their systems. Attendees from 22 countries had filled the converted hangar, most wearing patches of elite units. Krav Maga instructors from Israel dominated the floor, their aggressive drills drawing crowds. But when it was time for the Filipino delegation to present, the energy in the room dipped. Only one man stepped forward, Master Emilio Reyes. He was lean, soft-spoken, mid-40s, and wearing a faded training shirt with a hand-drawn tribal pattern. No team, no entourage, just a dull wooden knife in hand. The Israeli lead instructor, Lieutenant Oren Meir, chuckled audibly and muttered to a nearby Czech officer, "Another folk dance." Several laughed. Reyes ignored it. He began slowly demonstrating motion drills from eskrima, angles, slashes, body alignment. The rhythm was controlled, the blade movements minimal. Oren stood, raised a hand, and said, "We don't have time for performance art. Show us something that works." A few instructors clapped awkwardly, unsure if this was disrespect or just competitive spirit. But Emilio nodded once. "Then let's test it," he said. What followed wasn't a sparring match, it was a proposal. Emilio asked for a live demo, knife-on-knife training blades, full speed, single exchange simulations. Oren raised his eyebrows, clearly intrigued. "And if I land first?" he asked. "Then your system is proven," Emilio replied. "But if I do," he trailed off. A quiet tension spread. The seminar organizers reluctantly allowed it. Attacks would be random and realistic. Each defender had one chance per setup. Oren went first, demonstrating Krav Maga's signature aggression. Fast bursts, simultaneous control, and counterstrikes. The blade clattered against the floor after each sequence, opponents overwhelmed. The crowd applauded. He turned to Emilio with a confident nod. "Your turn." The Filipino master stepped into position. His opponent lunged with a high forehand slash. Emilio's movement was subtle. A sidestep, a wrist trap, and the training blade tapped the attacker's exposed ribs. 2 seconds. No strength. Just geometry. The room shifted. Chairs creaked. Someone whispered, "Wait, was that real?" The next opponent came. This time a low thrust. Same result. Redirection. Blade tapped to throat. And again. And again. 4 different attacks. 4 impossibly fast disarms. People started filming. What confused the audience wasn't just the effectiveness. It was the grace. Emilio didn't look like he was fighting. He looked like he was moving through a puzzle. His defense didn't clash with the attack. It erased it. By the 5th exchange, even the skeptical instructors were leaning forward. Oren, who had sat down smugly after his own demonstrations, now had his arms crossed, watching closely. Finally, he stood up. "Let's go then," he said. "Your blade against mine." Emilio turned and calmly accepted. A circle was cleared, cameras raised, and what was meant to be a training event suddenly felt like something more. Oren rushed forward with an angle 2 slash, textbook Krav Maga, power and forward pressure. Emilio didn't retreat. He pivoted inward, rolled the wrist, and stepped offline. In one fluid motion, his blade rested under Oren's chin. Silence. Oren froze. No blood, no injury, but the implication was clear. The Filipino didn't celebrate. He just stepped back and reset his stance. "Again?" he asked. Oren nodded, his jaw tight. The second round came fast. Oren feinted low, then came high with a reverse grip, fast, brutal, well-practiced. But Emilio anticipated the rhythm. His left hand parried the blade mid-flight, his body slipping behind Oren's stance. A gentle tap with the wooden blade touched the kidney. Again, undeniable. The third exchange lasted longer. Oren circled, trying to read him. He attempted a redirection feint into a full-body tackle. Emilio's foot slid diagonally, guiding Oren's weight off balance. The blade touched his exposed back. 3 exchanges. 3 clean hits. No resistance, no escalation. It wasn't that Oren lacked speed or strength. It was that everything he committed to was already accounted for. Emilio wasn't reacting. He was waiting. When the third round ended, Oren lowered his blade slowly, breathing hard. He stared at the mat beneath his feet. Then something shifted. He looked up, nodded once, and offered a handshake. Emilio accepted it. The room erupted into applause. The Israeli trainer didn't speak right away. He walked off the mat, towel over his shoulder, silent. He wasn't angry. He was thinking. That night, videos from the seminar began circulating online. At first, just short clips from phones. Grainy footage of Oren getting tapped, slowed down to show the precise timing of Emilio's movements. Comments poured in. How did he move like that? This looks fake. Wait, no, it's real? By morning, defense forums and martial arts subreddits were debating the footage. Was this just a stylistic fluke? Or had they just witnessed something deeper? By day 3, the full video, 15 minutes unedited, was uploaded by the seminar organizers. It went viral. The footage showed every exchange. The angle changes. The minimal movement. The fluidity. Every frame reinforced the same idea. Emilio Reyes was not improvising. He was executing. Old instructors started recognizing techniques they'd seen in books, but never understood in context. The footwork. The offline redirection. The double-blind traps. Suddenly, Filipino martial arts weren't performance. They were precision. Real fighters started asking questions. Real answers followed. Emilio's inbox exploded. Emails from police units in South America. Requests from European military instructors. A call from a university in Japan asking to translate the footage for combative research. He responded to none of them. Not because of arrogance, but because this wasn't new to him. What the world was discovering, his family had preserved for generations. His father had taught guerrillas during martial law. His grandfather had been wounded defending a village in Leyte during World War II. The movements he used weren't innovations. They were inheritance. Passed hand to hand, generation to generation. Emilio still taught at a small gym in Quezon City, tucked behind a bakery. Most of his students were security guards or tricycle drivers. He wasn't trying to go viral. He just wanted the knowledge to survive. But the attention wasn't slowing down. By week 2, Filipino media picked up the story. Then Israeli outlets. Then mainstream martial arts publications. The question was no longer, who is Emilio Reyes? It became, how did we overlook this for so long? The turning point came when Oren Mayer gave an interview. Not to defend himself, but to admit he'd been wrong. I believed direct aggression was the answer to all blade threats. I still believe in Krav Maga. But I also saw something that night I hadn't trained for, effortless precision. The clip went viral. In it, Oren explained that he had spent 20 years training to fight with intensity. But Emilio didn't fight with intensity. He fought with inevitability. I was already trapped before I moved. That's not magic. That's a different kind of mastery. His words were honest. No excuses. No ego. And that made them more powerful than any footage. That's when the emails stopped being about seminars and started being about respect. Filipino instructors around the world began sharing their own stories of being mocked, dismissed, called folklore. Now, they were getting calls from military schools, police academies, even Olympic committees. Not because the world suddenly believed in them, but because they'd seen what belief looked like in action. Weeks passed. Emilio returned to training quietly. The fame didn't change him, but it changed the people around him. New students arrived every week. A German counterterrorism unit sent representatives. A Brazilian jiu-jitsu school wanted to learn knife disarms. At first, Emilio refused. Not because he doubted them, but because they kept asking for secrets. He told them the truth. There are no secrets, just repetition and understanding. Those who stayed learned. Those who didn't left. Meanwhile, Oren Mayer visited the Philippines. Not for a photo op. He trained under Emilio for 7 days. No cameras. No audience. Just sweat, questions, and empty notebooks filled with new shapes. On the final day, Oren bowed deeply. This changes everything, he said. Not just technique, mindset. Emilio smiled. Now you see it. What began as a challenge had become a collaboration. The full implications didn't stop with martial arts. Filipino schools began incorporating traditional combat systems into physical education. A Filipino senator mentioned Emilio's demonstration during a national address, praising the preservation of indigenous knowledge. Even the Israeli Defense Forces, according to leaked reports, began integrating offline blade disruption principles into urban combat drills. Nobody said it publicly, but insiders knew where it came from. A viral clip. A quiet man. A moment that shook assumptions. Instructors in Europe started calling it the Reyes effect. Traditional systems, once mocked as antiquated, were being re-examined. It wasn't about nostalgia. It was about efficiency. A lesson learned the hard way, on a mat, in front of cameras, under fluorescent lights. The impact of the Reyes demonstration didn't stop in seminars. A Filipino teenager in Canada watched the video on his phone and signed up for Arnie's classes the next day. A retired Marine in the US commented under the clip, 30 years in combat, and I just learned something new. From the Philippines to Poland, curiosity turned into enrollment. Online courses about Filipino martial arts saw record spikes. Old instructors who had long stopped teaching were being invited back to lead workshops. Suddenly, the blade wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol of heritage and forgotten excellence. What Emilio represented wasn't just skill. It was dignity. The dignity of something old, tested, and true being recognized in a world obsessed with the new. In places like Cebu, Mindoro, and Cavite, tiny schools lit up with visitors from abroad. Not because they marketed themselves, but because truth travels fast when it cuts deep. Emilio refused interviews, turned down endorsements, and went back to teaching tricycle drivers and janitors. Because that's who the system was made for, ordinary people protecting what they love. And that, more than anything else, is what people saw. Still, not everyone welcomed the shift. Some modern martial arts influencers called the footage cherry-picked, or controlled. One even claimed Emilio's performance was rehearsed to look good on camera. But the more they criticized, the more viewers went back to the footage. They slowed it down. They analyzed frame by frame. And what they found wasn't performance, it was prediction. Emilio wasn't reacting. He was reading. Every motion had intention. Every deflection was placement, not panic. A combat systems engineer from Germany even released a breakdown video titled, "Why the Filipino Knife Wins in Physics." It gained millions of views. He showed that Emilio's movements required 40% less muscle effort and offered 60% more blade control due to angle manipulation. What once looked like dance was now being understood as engineering. It wasn't a myth. It was math. And the more people studied it, the more one truth became impossible to ignore. Filipino martial arts were never obsolete. They were just overlooked. And now the world was paying attention. By the end of the year, a new training center opened in Manila, funded by an international coalition of martial arts groups. They named it Tahanan ng Laban, Home of the Fight. Emilio Reyes was named senior consultant, though he refused to have his name on the building. He still taught 3 classes a week in Quezon City. "If I stop there, I stop here," he said, pointing to his chest. But his students were growing. Israeli, Brazilian, Kenyan, Swedish. They came not to master the knife, but to respect it. Many arrived expecting secrets. Most left with bruised wrists and redefined ideas. One student said, "I came to learn how to win. I left learning how not to lose." That was Emilio's gift. He didn't teach domination. He taught survival. In a world where combat was increasingly about strength and speed, he taught timing, placement, and presence. The same skills his ancestors used on jungle paths now applied in alleys and stairwells. The blade hadn't changed. The understanding had returned. A year after the Warsaw event, the International Combat Federation added a new certification stream, traditional blade systems. It was the first time a non-modern combat art had received official recognition since the organization's founding. Emilio didn't attend the ceremony. Instead, he was in a rice field in Tarlac, helping an old friend harvest for the barangay. When asked later why he missed such a historic moment, He shrugged and said, "The knowledge is the honor. I don't need a plaque." But his absence made his presence louder. Students across the world began calling their own teachers Lolo and Tadei in honor of the generations who passed the art forward. One Israeli commando posted a photo from his return trip to the Philippines. The caption read, "Came to train. Left with a second home." What Emilio had demonstrated wasn't just a combat system. It was a living legacy. And legacies don't beg to be seen. They just stand still long enough for the world to catch up. Eventually, Emilio Reyes became more than a name. He became a lesson. A lesson in humility, patience, and precision. He reminded the world that the sharpest blade isn't the one swung hardest, it's the one guided with purpose. His story inspired films, documentaries, and even academic research. But the real transformation was quieter. Police officers who once laughed at stick drills now trained their cadets in off-angle redirection. Instructors who believed strength was the only answer began to explore efficiency. Around the world, dusty old Arnie sticks were taken off walls, cleaned, and held again with pride. Not as relics, but as tools of understanding. Emilio never saw himself as special. He always said, "I'm just a student of those who came before me." But to the world, he became proof. Proof that you don't need a loud voice to teach a powerful truth. You just need to move with clarity, speak with silence, and let the results cut through doubt like a blade through air. If this story moved you, it's not because of one man. It's because of what he represented. The return of forgotten wisdom, the dignity of tradition, and the undeniable truth that greatness doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it comes barefoot, with a wooden blade and a quiet heart. The world may keep chasing new techniques, new gear, new systems. But somewhere in a humble gym in Quezon City, students are still learning footwork passed down through generations of real fighters. No lights, no audience, just focus, just truth. If you felt something reading this, then you already understand what others missed. What's old isn't outdated, it's tested. And when the world finally listens, it learns. Stick around. There are more stories like this. Stories where the underestimated rise, where the quiet win, and where tradition becomes triumph. Because sometimes, the sharpest cuts come not from the blade, but from the lesson it leaves behind.